How much have I spent on voiceover so far? Well, let's talk about it. Welcome back to Day One Voiceover. My name's Robert Vienna, and in this video, I've decided to share how much I've invested in voiceover so far. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know there are quite a few of you who are having their journeys in voiceover basically parallel mine. You started when I started, you're auditioning when I'm auditioning, you've won the same amount of jobs I have, maybe more, maybe less, but there are a lot of you out there that are in a pretty similar boat. And there's probably a good portion of you that are going to come across this while still deciding whether you want to jump into voiceover or not. So I wanted to share this as, first of all, just a piece of advice so that you know if you are getting started in this, just what you can expect to invest in voiceover from the perspective of a beginner myself, and maybe as a comparison thing as well, because I've been admittedly very cheap about this so far. If you've been following my channel, you'll know that I started in voiceover pretty much because I was unemployed. I didn't have work, and I decided to do something different. But that also put me in a position where I couldn't just spend as much as I wanted to and invest as much as I needed to into the career. However, I've since found employment. I've been employed for a good chunk of this year, and I'm in a position now where I can probably comfortably pay for some of the additional stuff that I need, but I've stayed in that kind of cheap mindset, and it's come back to bite me, and I'll talk about that here in the end. But first and foremost, let's talk about the gear. So I have everything listed here, and I'm going to read through them. So first and foremost, my Rode NT1, my interface, and my stand. So I got this off of Sweetwater, which every one of you should know by now. And they have this as kind of a starter package deal. That's why everyone uses the Rode NT1 when they're getting started, and everyone uses the Scarlett Solo when they're getting started. But hey, it works, and it's been doing great for me. So that kit was approximately $250. I don't remember exactly to the penny, but it was definitely around there. So that's first and foremost, which, by the way, you might recall that I started initially with a Yeti, a blue Yeti USB microphone. Lovely microphone, good for podcasts maybe, doing some general video voiceovers, but not necessarily a professional microphone. And I outgrew that pretty quick. So on to the next one. Sound treatment. So for the space that I'm recording, which is of course walk-in studios, my walk-in closet, I wanted to sound treat it. Yes, there's clothes there. It was carpeted, and that helps some of the initial sound treatment, but the walls needed to be treated. So fortunately for me, because it is a closet, much of the sound was already dampened, and I didn't have to invest too heavily into dampening the walls, but I did. I bought these hexagon sound tiles off Amazon. I didn't do the standard foam stuff. Everything I heard about those, they just don't work. They're not robust enough. They're not thick enough. And these have been doing a decent job. And I say that because I only got 2 packs of them, which totaled about $60. And it only covered about 3/4 of the space that I'm recording in. However, from any coaching I've done or any guidance that I've gotten from people, everyone seems to say the sound in my recording space is great. So I held off, but I should still invest a little more and cover as much as I can. The thing is, it is still very much a used closet in my home, so I can't just necessarily take it over, which is why I haven't done the moving blankets. So for now, that's a $60 investment. So next, the headphones. My Sony headphones. The pretty standard model headphones that everyone uses as they're getting started, or even long-term in this business. They're just kind of a main staple of this industry. They're only $110. Here's the interesting thing about them, though. I don't use them that much. I know some people record with headphones, some people record one ear off. I don't like doing either of those. My ears get hot, and I like to hear the ambient space that I'm in when I'm recording. Personal preference, I guess. That's just how I prefer to do it. I use the headphones when I'm putting together demos, and grabbing auditions and putting music behind them so I can put them on the pay-to-plays and all that. But it's not something I use regularly. And as the career progresses, maybe I will. But it is an investment that needs to be noted. So, next one, the memberships into the pay-to-plays. So Voices.com is about $400. I think it's $399. And Voice123, I opted for the $888 plan. So that right there is already $1,288 worth of the pay-to-plays. So if you're new to VoiceOver, Voices.com and Voice123 are websites where you can audition for work and hopefully win some jobs. There's pros and cons to them. So far they've been okay for me, but that's the investment that I've put into it. And I'll talk a little bit later about whether I've made my money back there or not. Next up, the laptop. So when I first started, I was sharing my wife's laptop. A small little 13-inch, 4-year-old, 5-year-old MacBook Air. I just created a profile on her account and she would let me use it when she's not using it. And it became this whole thing about bouncing back and forth and all that. But I wasn't working at the time, so I couldn't afford to get my own computer. I eventually came around to investing in a laptop, and I got a MacBook Air 15-inch, which cost me $1,350. Now, there are probably cheaper MacBooks out there or cheaper computers out there that you can get. I liked the MacBook because it's fanless, so I can have it right next to the microphone and it'll never make a peep to be picked up by the microphone. And maybe that's the case in the Windows world too. There's some options available. It's just not, I prefer Mac. My house is filled with Mac stuff, so that's what I ended up getting. So $1,350 for the laptop. And next up is the membership to Gravy for the Brain, which is it's a fantastic resource. I haven't been good about really taking advantage of everything that's available there. But it's $32 a month. I've had the membership for 6 months, which works out to $192 so far. And there's a lot that I can be taking advantage of on Gravy for the Brain, and I need to be better about that. But that's been a nice resource so far. I love watching the mentor videos where J. Michael Collins and some other people there are giving live coaching sessions. And I need to be better about trying to hop into those and get an actual coaching session from, or at least a little snippet of a coaching session from people like J. Michael Collins. And next up is where I feel I have missed the mark. Coaching. I say that because I've only had 2 coaching sessions. One of them was with DJ Dykes, who most of you know, and I did I did another coaching session recently with someone else. Someone that was recommended to me kind of through the grapevine, and I decided to give it a shot. And both sessions were amazing. It's really cool seeing how different coaches have different perspectives, and it's such an eye-opening experience. And it let me know how much potential I still have within me. Clearly, without full-term professional coaching, I'm not really going to get as far as the average person might. I've been cheap about it, very foolishly, because this most recent coaching session definitely opened my eyes, and so did DJ's as well. But that was a little further back, and wasn't quite in the position to keep investing into it quite yet. But that's going to be my next big chunk of investment. I'm going to keep putting money into that. And another piece to that is the Tina Morosco Library. So if you haven't heard of Tina Morosco, definitely look her up. The absolute gold standard in commercial voiceover coaching and other genres as well, but she's the gold standard. She's the one everyone goes to. There are disciples of hers all over the place that are fantastic coaches as well because they coached under her. And she has a library for $475 that you can sign up for, and I'll be doing that here probably sometime this weekend. So I'm including that in my overall cost because I've never heard a single negative thing about it. I've only heard great things about it. Plus, it gives you access to be able to have additional coaching through Tina, to be able to access or attend some of her live events through Zoom and things like that, and even pay a little extra to participate and be coached by her live as well. And I want to take advantage of that. Tina is definitely just like I said, the gold standard name that everyone talks about when it comes to commercial coaching. So what does that come out to? $3,205. Here's the thing. That is nothing. It really is. I'm trying to start a business here. And how many businesses would ever get off the ground with that little amount? Think about a plumbing business or a garage or anything like that where someone might be starting an actual brick and mortar business. It's tens of thousands, if not well over the six-figure range. And how much am I going to expect to get with just $3,000? And that's my bad. That's my bad. And the thing is, like I said, I started this when money was very tight. But I'm in a position now where I could maybe be a little better about investing in coaching and things like that. And I haven't up until now. And when I said earlier that it's come to bite me, I say that because of this. Some of you guys that have watched the channel from the beginning have invested in yourselves and in the business, and you've seen the results. Some of you have gone out and landed yourself some big time representation. You know who I'm talking about. Some of you have gone out and landed big jobs and are auditioning for $20,000 auditions while I'm on the pay-to-plays doing $250 jobs. And that's because I have invested in myself, and they have. And they're seeing the success. Not that money absolutely equals success, but you have to give yourself a chance. You have to put yourself in a position to be able to realize that success, right? You need the training. And I need the training. And I've said it in the past that I was going to do coaching, and I've done little spurts here and there, like I just showed you. But it's going to be my next big investment, and I'm going to keep investing into it. Now, one thing to note, I'm very, 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 very grateful that the one big commercial job that I did land on Voices.com was enough to pay for all of this. So I'm technically in the black. I'm still profitable based off of that one job. But I can't base this entire thing off of the one job, right? I have to keep moving. But I am grateful that at the very least I landed that, and it's helped. But I'm aware it's an anomaly. So that's my commitment. Commit to myself, commit to you guys. In this industry, it's important to have an accountability buddy. And there's some of you guys that I talk to regularly that I kind of feel are that for me, and I appreciate that. But as a channel overall, I would love for you guys to check in on me from time to time and say, how's coaching going? What have you learned from coaching? And, it's not necessarily a cool thing to just talk about and show you what I've learned from coaching, because that's why you go to a coach for, and that's what you pay them for. But as I continue to grow in this and I pick up some new skills, I'll be sure to show those as best I can, as cordially, without stepping on the toes of my coaches. But that's what I wanted to share with you for this video. Hopefully that brings you some kind of value, especially if you're getting started in the industry. But hey, as always, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys here for the next video. And if you have any ideas on what it is you would like for me to put together, please be sure to let me know, because I'm happy to do that. All right? Thanks very much. Talk to you soon.